I always thought Samson would be here till the end of his career. Sometimes you just want to do different things.
Hey guys, Ivan here, and in today's video we'll talk about something very interesting that just happened yesterday. I'm sure you already know about it, but there are a couple of things I would like to talk about as far as this topic. Now, you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Fuad. I respect him a lot. I don't want to put a spin to this and make it negative. I'll try and I'll be as respectful as possible, but there are some questions that I want to ask. Now, first of all, Fuad made it perfectly clear in his video where he addressed this, and it seems like he's trying really hard to make it seem like there is no drama here. There is no controversy. Samson is kind of doing the same thing with his post. These guys are really trying hard to make it seem like this was actually mutual, and that's it. When is that really the case in relationships? Personal or business relationships? When are things really mutual? In my experience, rarely ever. So in this situation, there's gotta be something, and I want to do some digging. And this is the first video on this topic in which we'll just, basically break the news and ask some interesting questions. If I learn more about this, if there is actually some more controversy, I'll make a new video about it. So guys, stay tuned, subscribe to this channel. So, do you guys remember, first of all, that Samson signed a 4-year contract 2 years ago? So, yeah, whatever. They broke the contract. I don't even know what these contracts are for, really, because these athletes are breaking them left and right. But okay, in this case, they talked about this, they had a mutual agreement, they had a long talk, Fuad had a sit down with his company, and they decided this is the best way to do things. Let's hear a short version of what Fuad had to say on the reason why they parted ways.
We had a company meeting, me and the other owners, and we made some decisions, and the company really just wants to focus on building the brand, but we want to focus on the customers. Samson wants to do some other things that are good for him. So it's not a shock. Does it hurt? Like, yeah, you're losing like your best friend. You want not your best friend, but like your best athlete and, a good friend and somebody that you want to, I always thought Samson would be here till the end of his career. But things just happen and things change. And this isn't a question of loyalty or anything like that. Samson, like I said, is a solid individual, man. I would never say anything bad about him. And sometimes you just want to do different things.
All right, so we got an explanation, but we didn't really get an explanation. To be honest, I am completely confused. I have no idea why these guys actually parted ways. And Fuad is not obligated to tell us the real reason. Of course, why would he? I mean, he did make a video. So if you're making a video, give us some real information. In this video, he basically says first that the company is changing a direction. They're not focused on sponsoring the athletes and, building the brand. And then also he says Samson wanted to do something different. So what was on the table for Samson to stay and to work on formulating the formulas for Fuad supplements? I mean, what was the offer? I don't get it. Like, did he offer Samson less money because the company is doing something different and Samson decided to walk, as he of course should? I think that's probably reasonable. And people are saying that this came as a shocker. Nobody thought it was going to happen. Honestly, I'm not shocked at all, because how often these sponsorships last this long? I mean, this never happens, really. And also, Hosstile is not exactly a major company. It's a pretty young company, and like there are many bigger ones. And like me working for Fuad, being sponsored by Hosstile, I didn't get rich by being there, to be honest. Really, when you are with Hosstile, what you're hoping for is that you get some exposure on Fuad's podcast. If Fuad talks about you on his podcast, everybody from the bodybuilding world, inner circles. I mean, a little bit more than inner circles, really. Around 100,000 people that are watching his podcast weekly will hear about you. So that's what you get. You know, it's more like being sponsored by a magazine. But I don't know exactly what he's paying to these top athletes, but still, I was surprised that Samson stayed for this long. So I thought Samson must be really loyal, or Fuad is actually paying him a lot more than what he is to most of his athletes. And at this point, maybe he couldn't afford him anymore. He offered Samson less money, and Samson didn't agree with that. Now, maybe that's the case. If that is the case, that's a little bit of drama. That maybe means that Samson wasn't happy with what Fuad offered to him, you know, smaller contract, even though he already had a 4-year contract, guys. For 2 more years, Samson could have stayed a Hosstile athlete with the same salary. And Fuad decided to change the direction of the company, and I'm assuming, offered Samson less money. That makes sense. The other possibility would be that the salary stayed the same, but Samson was offered more money by another company and decided to leave Hosstile. But I really don't think that's the case, because I think Samson could have walked away after he won the Mr. Olympia. Guys, I'm pretty sure somebody else, some bigger company, would have offered him more than what he had with Hosstile. That's my impression. I feel Samson was, you know, so grateful that Fuad hired him, that he sponsored him back when Samson was a nobody, really. And, you know, he believed in him, he helped him, he pushed him, he was his friend, he, you know, got him to Canada to train with him and everything like that. They were actual friends. And so Samson wanted to stay loyal. Obviously, he asked for more money, but I don't think he was paid as some of the other athletes are by these major companies. So maybe it came to the point where Fuad wanted to give him even less, and Samson, of course, wasn't going to take it, and he probably also wanted to stay with the same company for the rest of his career, but it was just impossible. But then again, maybe it's the other thing that somebody else offered Samson more money, which I don't see being the case. But again, Fuad is not obligated to tell us anything. This is just my speculation, what makes sense for me. And if you guys clicked on this video, you click to hear what I think, because you already know what's out there, what's officially the truth. What Fuad said, what Samson is saying, we have no idea what is exactly the case. This is just my speculation again. If I learn more details, something juicy, I'll make a new video about it, of course. But in my opinion, guys, I think it's a money thing, and we'll see after after the dust settles, if these guys are actually gonna stay friends, and what are they gonna talk about each other afterwards. That's when we'll learn if these things that are saying right now are actually true. And look, one thing for sure, I am actually excited about this, because finally, after a long time, Fuad is going to be able to not necessarily have Samson win every show that Samson is competing at. He's going to be allowed to actually sometimes give him second spot, if he believes so. So yeah, you guys tell me down below in the comment section whatever you think about is what could have caused this separation. Again, in my opinion, it's probably a money thing. They're not going to divulge any of it online, but yeah, I don't think it's just a mutual understanding. They want to go in different directions, blah, blah, blah. There had to be some argument, and somebody wasn't happy with things, so they parted ways. Maybe we'll never find out what the real reason is, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, guys, on this down below in the comment section. Alright, the next thing we got is something very interesting about Nick Walker and Lee Priest. That's right. So I saw this on his Instagram page, Beyond the Stage TV, and basically it's Lee Priest addressing Nick Walker. Lee Priest, who is, by the way, who always was very much against the coaches in bodybuilding. He never had a coach. He did all of his coaching by himself. He prepped himself. And he was always about like how it's not He always spoke about how it's not that complicated. You just need to train and eat more in the off season, eat less when you're prepping, and that's about it. Personally, of course, as a coach, I can't agree with that. There are many more layers into coaching athletes, especially if you don't have premium genetics like Lee Priest and like Nick Walker. If you do not and you need some guidance, you also want to do things the healthiest way possible, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Even Bodybuilding Coaching. I can help you guys, I can guide you. And just like myself, I never had great genetics, but I found ways to make my physique look the best possible. So I'm not gonna just cruise you into the show, you're gonna look just fine the way you are 1 month out. No, I know ways to make your physique look much better on the day of the stage, or if you're prepping for a wedding or for a beach, for a vacation, whatever it is, just DM me over at Instagram. I'm not very expensive and I'm very dedicated to my clients. Anyways, Lee Priest had something interesting to say to Nick Walker. Let's take a listen to this.
I think with Nick, it's just a mental thing. Nick, if you're listening, I'm your coach, mate. Don't change a thing. When you look that good 2 weeks out like you did before the Olympia, and I had you battling Samson for the win, trust me, those little voices in your head, fucking ignore them. Just keep training the same, keep eating what you're eating, and those last few days, just manipulate your water, and you can have a chance at winning the fucking Arnold Classic.
You know what? I absolutely cannot disagree with this. I can't disagree. Dave Palumbo gave the exact same advice to Ian Valliere when he lost to Hunter Labrada at Tampa Pro, looked terrible because they tried some crazy peak week, him and Patrick Tour, and they did absolutely nothing for the New York Pro, and Ian looked his absolute best. Not really. Later on, they figured out how to get him a little bit drier and harder, but that was still a very good look. And what Kyle Wilkes was saying was that before the Mr. Olympia, at 1 week out, Nick was in shape. So I don't know what went wrong, because when I asked Kyle what was the issue, because Kyle is also not about those crazy peak week protocols. Me personally, again, I am, because my opinion is, I don't want to insult anybody, but I feel like if a coach doesn't do a complicated peak week, it's usually because they don't know how to pull it off. And yes, there might be a little bit of risk, but you're not going to look terrible on the day of the stage. You might, in the worst case scenario, look the same, in my opinion, in my experience. But I promise you guys, in most cases, peak week transforms you. You look 30% better at least on the stage. If you know what you're doing, of course. If you don't, then you stick with what you know. They might have tried something crazy for the Olympia and it backfired. So in this situation at the Arnold Classic, and Nick is prepping alone, he should just do nothing. Lee Priest was training like a day before the show, or even morning of the show sometimes, from what I'm hearing. So he would change nothing, and it worked really well for him. And if Nick looks great at 1 week out, then yes, he should just do nothing. But usually, especially back when Nick was working with Matt Jansen, he would change a lot in that final week. Because Matt was obviously big on the peak week, which I like. So if Nick learns something from Matt and he knows how to implement that, then he should try and do a peak week. But if he doesn't, just get shredded, man. Get shredded and step on that stage and look amazing and dominate. That's also a very good advice. Or hell, if he thinks at 1 week out he is still watery, he wants to be fuller, he wants to try and maybe potentially be 30% better, he can just DM me. Anyways, let's see what Nick has to say on this, on Lee Priest's advice.
Oh, I love it. It's awesome. And I know he pretty much self-coached, I believe, his whole career. And I'm always been a Lee Priest fan. You know, obviously Lee Priest was known for his arms. I was, still am known for my arms. So it's actually really cool to have the support of someone, I kind of looked up to growing up. So I really, really appreciate Lee Priest's support for sure.
Okay, so Nick is happy at least supporting him, but he didn't really say anything about the peak week approach. And yeah, why would he talk about that right now at 11 weeks out? He also spoke about his confidence going into this show without a coach. Let's hear that. It's also interesting.
I mean, I'm more than confident at this point, for sure. And like I said, I think the fun part is I'm just having fun. I'm just enjoying training, getting back to some free weights once in a while, keeping track of, you know, all the diet. Like, it's actually fun. I actually enjoy all of this. So I'm excited to do this for the Arnold and, you know, present a really, really good look that I'm envisioning for the Arnold. I think olive oil is great for a bulk. Mindset is honestly just bringing the best package I can. And, you know, obviously the goal is to win. The goal is never to just place and be like, oh, yay. No. I come to win. And honestly, I'm having so much fun right now, so I can't really answer that question. I'm having a blast just kind of doing this myself and rolling with the punches. You know, every day I wake up and it's just a go by feel approach. And honestly, I mean, everything's calculated, but like, it's just been really cool to do that, you know, and not have to really just, I know what works. So it's been fun.
Hell yeah, it's fun, especially when you know your body already. I mean, it's the most fun part of the sport, really, when you're doing your own training and you're seeing the results. It's basically your body ends up the result of your mind. It's almost like playing a game of a sort. You're doing the tasks and you're seeing the results. If a coach takes all that away from you, it is kind of boring. If you are really only focused on the result, then that's the right way to go, to hire somebody with more experience, more knowledge than you. But if you want to have fun, do it yourself, man. Or at least hire a coach for some part. If you're not sure about how to use the gear, get a coach for that. If you don't know how to do a peak week, for example, get a coach for that. That's a tricky part usually. If you don't know how to train, get a trainer. But yeah, in Nick's case, it seems like he's doing everything by himself. He's enjoying it. He's confident. And let's see what he can do actually by himself. What's going to be the product of his body this time around and his mind as well. It's very exciting, guys. You tell me down below, what do you think? Should he do the Lee Priest approach, not change anything, or get somebody to help him for a peak week? Whatever you think, guys, down below in the comment section. All right, and the last thing we got for today, guys, is a new physique update by Sam Sulek. Now, you guys know I don't follow Sam Sulek that much, you know, because, yeah, he turned pro, but that's not why he's popular, of course. He earned the pro card, I have no problem with that, but he's popular because of his YouTube channel, which, you know, I don't have the time to watch, really. So, yeah, I saw his physique covered on this page right here, and I saw the comment that I agree with the most, I gotta admit. And it's a top comment as well. Derek Deanov, whoever he is, says, it will be a win for him if he isn't a last place, let's be honest. Personally, that's exactly the way I see it. I mean, I think he made some progress. I think he looks great, and that's phenomenal. But, you know, going against the other top classic physique guys in the world, doing the second toughest show in the world for his pro debut, I mean, it's too much. He's going to be disappointed. I think the fans are going to be disappointed as well. Probably not the best choice for his first show. But, you know, still, even if he did a smaller show, even if he won that small show, qualified for the Olympia, and eventually did the Mr. Olympia, he will still be buried at one point. So, yeah, why not do this show first and still, you know, have some fun, get some exposure, some extra exposure. So, yeah, I'm not against it, but do I think he's going to do well, like certain channels think? No, I absolutely do not. I might. And if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Once again, in the comment section, tell me what you think about Samson and Fuad parting ways. Also about Nick Walker. Subscribe to the channel, guys, if you haven't already. It's going to mean a lot to me. See you soon, guys. All the best, and bye-bye.